Hey, let's hear it for my boy, Jon Guerra. Who has spent more than 10 seconds this weekend thinking about his hair? Raise your hand.
That means a lot, guys. Thank you. That means a lot.
Jon is an incredible musician from Chicago. He lives in Austin, Texas now with his wife and daughter, Winslow. He and I are both from Chicago. We actually met when I was 13 years old, and I went to a club in downtown Chicago to see his band play that I was obsessed with. And you guys sounded like Radiohead meets My Dreams. And I've been obsessed with his music ever since then. Jon, sometimes I love worship music. Sometimes I don't like Christian music because I find it cheesy and irritating. Is that okay if people feel like that?
No, you're going to hell if you feel that way. So.
Thanks for being honest.
Yeah, totally. No, of course. I mean, can anybody relate to that sometimes? It's like, why is this music so much better? And why, so yes, true statement that I think everybody relates to. Why is that? Here's a reason why I think that is. Well, some music sounds like a fake version of something else. Who likes a fake version of something? It's like having like a banana flavored candy. To me, that was always the most disgusting. I'd always just rather have a banana, and I never even liked bananas.
Yeah.
So yes, that is okay. Why do you think that is?
I think that is because I think that the Bible doesn't create a secular versus sacred divide as much as Christians are obsessed with creating. So I think that worship music or any type of music or any type of speech or any type of art or any type of movie that leads people to the throne room of God or leads people to examine or consider their relationship with God is wonderful. It glorifies God. It's part of the kingdom of God. And I think that music or movies that cheaply imitate that and are weak forms of art that are created to generate lame interest or energy are the opposite of art, and God says that anything you do, you should do with excellence. And so in that sense, that's, I would say, the reason why I think that you've taken those thoughts in a way that has really inspired me, and you've created this idea of what you have called devotional music. And it has really inspired me the way that you have talked about that, and I don't think everybody here understands what that is.
So, it has been so good to be here. I just want to say that. It's just been so wonderful. I feel like the five of you have been leading me in worship. Yep, you five. So, truly, I mean, yeah, you don't, sure. My point being, when up here we get a really beautiful view of you guys singing, and it's a little bit of a glimpse of what God sees. He doesn't see crowds. There's a story of Jesus in the New Testament where he was walking in a crowd and somebody touched him, and he stopped the whole crowd because one person touched him. Jesus doesn't see crowds; he sees people. He doesn't hear crowds; he hears you.
Wow.
So occasionally we're up here, and I feel like I get a little sense of that. Suddenly my eye are suddenly focusing on like the one person in the back who's, I don't know why I'm suddenly focusing on them, but then I just get this flood of joy and grace, and I just feel very grateful that God is moving. So thank you. And devotional music. What do I mean by devotional music? Well, a lot of music, like what we're doing up here, what we did all weekend, beautiful. This is called congregational worship music, okay? Christians have been doing this for centuries. People have been getting together, singing true things about God together. This is something Christians do. It's beautiful. It's amazing. There's another kind of music, though, that is intended for something else, and it's intended for, it's intended just for you and God. And I have called it devotional music. Devotional music is less Sunday morning worship music and more Monday morning prayer music. It's more the kind of music that you reach for when you're feeling maybe lonely, or the kind of music you reach for when you really have no words to say, but you really just kind of need some relief of something. What is that song? What is that band? I only listen to them when I'm sad or when I'm pumped or when I'm feeling very And I would like to just quickly do just an illustration of what I mean by that.
Yeah. Can you grab your guitar and show us?
I would love to.
What it is. If you haven't listened to Jon's music while he's getting his little setup done, Jon has a record that he put out last year called Keeper of Days. And I am not an extremely emotional person. And this music, in my personal time with God, has brought me to incredibly emotional states of proximity to God. I'd highly encourage you guys to check out that record and to also consider the ideas that he's talking about, which is effectively the idea of the Psalms. So many of the Psalms, when I read them, I think, well, we couldn't sing this at church because it's talking about oil dripping down the beard of Aaron. It's beautiful and it's wonderful and it's godly, but it actually fits in a little bit of a different category. And Jon is kind of drilling down into that. So give us a little bit more with the songs.
So, and again, I don't mean this over and against. Like, it's been such a privilege to lead you in worship. And I've also been a part of so many worship movements really in the past few years. Most recently, it's been a privilege to work with Hillsong, which is amazing. They are people who understand what I'm talking about. They're people who understand, I guess, the quiet place. But first I want to start with something that maybe is a little bit more familiar. So I'd be very curious if you didn't giggle when I asked you this question, but have you ever been in love? Oh, the squirming. So there's something that happens when you're in love. Can I just talk about this for a bit? There's something that happens when you're in love. You become aware of another person in a way that surprises you, in a way that almost feels like you're closer to them than you are to yourself, in a way that feels like there's something about that person's presence that makes me feel like the universe is infinitely good. There's something about seeing that person's face that makes me feel as though I was standing in front of the Grand Canyon at sunset and eating my favorite piece of chocolate cake and also being given $1 million all at the same time. That's what being in love feels like. It does. And what's funny is when people are in love and they write songs, it's usually very particular. So it's very specific. So this is one of my favorite love songs. It goes like this. Do you realize that you have the most beautiful face? Do you realize that everyone gets kind of sad here? You know, someday we'll die. And instead of saying all of your goodbyes, let them know you realize that life moves fast. It's hard to make good things last. Realize the sun doesn't go down. It's just an illusion caused by the world spinning around. And then he goes back. Do you realize that you have the most beautiful face? Do you realize? So that's what somebody does when they're really in love with somebody. They start with the particular and they go to the extreme. They go to the universe. They go to the poles of human experience, death, life. So what does somebody do when they're really in love with God? Exactly. It might sound something like this. Oh, that I could see your face, how I'm longing for that day, brighter sun of holy grace, make my heart a holy place. Blessed are the poor who have nothing to own. Blessed are the mourners who are crying alone. Blessed are the guilty who have nowhere to go, for their hearts have a road to the kingdom of God, and their souls are the songs of the kingdom of God, and they will find a refuge, for theirs is the kingdom of God. Or you could sing this if you know it, or they might sing this. All my life you have been faithful. All my life you have been so, so good. With every breath that I am able, oh, I will sing of the goodness of God. Your goodness is running after me, come on. Your goodness is running after me, it's running after me. Oh, your goodness is running after me, it's running after me. With my life laid down, I surrender now, I give you everything. Your goodness is running after me, it's running after me. Goodness is running after, it's running after me. Oh yes it is. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. With my life laid down, I surrender now, I give you everything. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. So my point is this, friends. My point is this. Human beings, you and I, we're created for intimacy. We're created to see other people. We're created to touch other people. We're created to empathize with them, to feel what they're feeling. And more than that, we're actually created to be intimate with God.
That's right.
We're created to be intimate with God. And art and music makes us feel things. And sometimes those things lead us in this direction, and God is over here. And so find the music that helps you go to God. Landon was saying I wrote an album. I made an album. Basically, this is very audacious of me, but I made an album that was actually intended to be listened straight through, all 14 songs straight in a row. And the point of that is, when you are finished with it, ideally it's created a little presence for you and God to just be together in. And that's what those 14 songs are for.
And my dad always told me when I was growing up that there is a difference between singing about God and singing to God. And I wonder if you would allow everything Jon has said to sink in, and the thing that I'm about to say, and then we're going to be finished and we're going to move on and we're going to play games and all that. But I wonder if you would just listen to this last idea, and I'm going to say it again for you, which is that when you're singing at church or when you're sitting in your quiet devotional time listening to music, you aren't singing about God because God is there. You don't talk about someone when they're in the room, you talk to them. And so I wonder if you would allow that idea to sink in a little bit, that when we're doing something like this together, or when you're in your private devotional time, that you are not singing about God, that you are singing to him, and let that paradigm shift allow an increased intimacy between you and God that he definitely wants and is hoping for with you. Also, how does it feel to know that you'll never be as good at anything as Jon is at that? That's always the way I feel when I hear him sing. especially on the Flaming Lips song where you started out so high and then you did a key change up. That was really something. That was non-spiritually incredible. Who is really glad that Jon came and was willing to talk with us this week and lead us this weekend? It's so awesome. Thank you so much for being here, Jon. I'd encourage you guys all to check out his music, and somebody else is going to come out and we're going to move on to what's next.
Peace.
Right.